So you want to start a podcast. So in this video, I'm going to share a few things that you need to know before you start podcasting in 2022.
This is the place for podcasters.
Hey, welcome back to the channel. My name's Brian here with Summit City Studios, and it's the place for podcasters. On this channel, we talk about tips, tools, and tech to help you create a great sounding podcast. And before you jump in and start creating your podcast, there's a few things that you need to know. Here we go. We're going to jump right in. The first one is the purpose. You have to know the why. Why is it do you want to get started? See, a lot of people, I think, get into it because it sounds like fun. You know, I have a good time talking to my friends, so we're going to sit down at a table and we're just going to talk and we're going to record ourselves. And it's fun for a while and it may be fun for you, but if you don't have a real purpose behind your podcast, other than it sounds like fun and the conversations that I have are fun and maybe people will listen, chances are people aren't going to listen. They need to know the purpose, and before they know the purpose, you need to know the purpose of why you're getting started with a podcast. So once you've answered that question of purpose, the why behind your podcast, the next thing I would share is don't stress out about the gear. Actually, you already have all the gear that you need to get started. And if you don't believe me, check out this video up here in the corner. There's a card up there somewhere that I did on home podcast studio setups on any budget. And the fact that you're watching this right now means you have the equipment that you need to start podcasting right now. You see, when I jumped in as full on as I possibly could. I didn't have all the equipment that I have now, but I bought more equipment than I probably needed at the time. And don't get me wrong, it sounded great right from the get-go. But I quickly realized I didn't need all of that equipment. I didn't need to spend all that money right away to get a clean sounding quality audio that had purpose and had an audience to listen. The gear will come later. If you watch that other video that I just referenced, you will find all sorts of gear that I use that I've upgraded to over the years. But really, to get started, you have what you need already. If you're finding this video helpful at all or finding any value in any of these tips, be sure to hit that like button. It not only tells me that you value the content that I'm creating and encourages me to continue producing more, it actually helps others with the same questions that you have find this video because of your engagement. So again, if you are enjoying this video, finding any value in it, be sure to hit that like button. The third thing that I will say is to practice. Practice, practice, practice. I can't stress it enough. When I first started podcasting, I'm so glad that we practiced. Myself and my co-host, we got together and we invited 4 guests in that knew they wouldn't be on the podcast, that they were there to run some trials for us because we were terrible interviewers. The other thing I'll say about that is maybe it's just you by yourself and you love to talk. Well, talking to another person or talking to a crowd or talking to an audience is way different than talking by yourself in a room alone into a microphone. If you have a host and a co-host, bring that other person in, build some chemistry together. Even if you're best friends, the discomfort you feel talking into a mic is the same discomfort that they feel talking into their mic as well. So it's going to take a little time to build some chemistry. And if you plan to do an interview style podcast, bring in somebody to interview, to practice before you release your first episode. Now, having said that, as much as you might practice, your first episode, no matter how good it is, it's not going to be your best. So prepare to make some tweaks and changes along the way. Change course if you need to. Invite someone new on the show. Change formats. Now, I started a podcast in 2018, and I was 41 episodes into that podcast, and it started feeling really stale, and I didn't know what to do about it. So 41 episodes in, we had interviewed a guest, and we went out to lunch with this individual, and he encouraged us to stop having guests on our podcast.
Say what?
Which sounded crazy, but his suggestion was you already have the content and people tune in to listen to you have this conversation because your content is so great. They don't tune in because they know who I am. Do your podcast and quit having guests on the show. And right there opened up a new way of thinking, opened up a new door. And actually, as we got into that rhythm, we started seeing greater success, greater listenership, and our numbers weren't falling off and trailing off as they had been in the weeks prior. So do what you need to do to make the changes you need to make to continue to pursue success in your podcasting journey. And then the last thing that I want to say is this: just start. Just start. I have a tendency to overthink things, and maybe you do too. Maybe this is the first video that popped up when you looked up how to start and why to start a podcast and what you need to know to start a podcast. Maybe this is the 100th video you've watched on that same topic because you're so hesitant. You see, I like to do my research. I like to know what I need, how to use it, and all of that before I jump in. But if you don't get started, you're never going to improve. So as I mentioned before, your first episode isn't going to be your best. So just know that going in and start before you're ready. So those are just a few lessons that I've learned along the way. As I've started a couple of podcasts, these are things that I've had to walk through. And I want you to know before you start your podcast here in 2022. But I'd also love to know, maybe I didn't answer the questions that you have. Maybe you have another question about how to start, when to start, what you need to start. Ask your questions in the comments. I would love to reply in the comments, but I'd also love to make a video just for you based on the questions that you ask. So leave your questions in the comments. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more content just like this. And I'll see you in the next one. Podcasting is, I say podcasting. Hey, thanks for checking this out. I hope you like what you're seeing on this channel. And if so, and you're curious to know how I might be able to walk alongside you and help you create a great podcast, visit me at summitcitystudios.com.